Houston says there are a lot of economic factors that can lead an individual to become abusive.
There's also usually tight finances, trying to get all of the stuff for Christmas and trying to make sure everything is paid for and ready to go. And, we live in a society that likes to decorate for Christmas and make everything look pretty. So a lot of, making sure the kids have gifts and making sure others have gifts are, that's important to a lot of people. So it just tightens the finances a lot, which clearly causes a lot of stress. Grief and despair is another kind of catalyst that people don't always know how to even talk about their grief or despair during the holidays, and they just kind of isolate and then perhaps, turn to substances or something because they're trying to deal with their grief.
For more information on Willow Tree Missions, contact them at 217-631-1018 or visit willowtreemissions.org. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is Staff Meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Cloudy skies this afternoon with a chance for a mix of rain and snow. High of 37. Southwest winds 10 to 20 miles per hour. Chance of snow showers tonight. Lows around 27. Overcast skies. Cloudy skies expected tomorrow. A few flurries possible at times. 31. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 36.
Your own home without the maintenance. If you're 55 or better, a beautiful Liberty Village villa could be yours. This is Erin, and I invite you to come take a tour of our move-in ready villa. Click the Liberty Village icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Simply the finest.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Hey everybody, Buddy Wilson here, your new country financial agent in Clinton. We're all familiar with the 3 whats. What is it? What can you do for me? And what does it cost? At Country Financial, we can help you find the answers with insurance coverage to help you protect what matters the most, all at prices you can afford. While you're juggling work, kids, and keeping an eye on the future, we'll make sure we're one of the first ones there when you need us the most. Call me, Buddy Wilson, your newest country financial representative in Clinton at 217-935-5620. Let's chat about your insurance needs today.
It's not just a cornfield. It's an uncompromising victory, a no-holds-barred triumph, a commitment to outdo last season every season. That's what DeKalb corn is all about. Chosen by farmers who push themselves to be the best, consistently, tirelessly, relentlessly. Wherever you compete, winning has roots. Perform at your best with DeKalb corn. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Farmers who planted Asgrow soybeans last season had a lot to celebrate. But for all of us here on the Asgrow team, the most important season is the next one. So we're back to work, advancing our breeding and genetics and expanding our always exceptional seed portfolio, all to push the industry and your yield potential even further. That's why Asgrow soybeans lead the way. Read and follow pesticide label directions, grain marketing, and other stewardship practices.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guests in studio this morning, State Senators Sally Turner and Chapin Rose. Sally, it's good to see you. How are you today?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for making the trip over and talking with us. And Chapin, good to see you again, my man.
Hey, Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry Christmas to you as well. And Chapin, I appreciate you because this was your idea to bring you and Sally together and basically hand off the district to Sally here this morning. So how about that?
Yeah. So as your listeners know, we've got a change coming here. The election in November, it's off this census. We've got brand new districts. I will be exiting the DeWitt, Macon, McLean, and Piatt area. And then my district will be going basically from Iroquois County down to Kentucky, over closer to Champaign. I wish I was joking about that last part, but it is what it is. And then this area will be bringing in Senator Turner, Sally Turner, who has done a great job in the about a year or so.
It's been a year and a half.
Year and a half that she's been a state senator, former clerk over in Logan County, and so I wanted to have her come in here and introduce herself to your listeners. But I'll tell you, folks, you're going to get a good one here with Sally Turner. It's a hard worker, very well versed on issues, and beyond that is just a heck of a nice lady.
Sure.
So please, if you have issues going forward, get a hold of her, get a hold of her staff. They're very friendly, and I know that she'll probably agree with this, that we can't always help, but we can always try to help. So Sally, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Here. Well, Seth, thanks for having us. And Chapin, thanks. I've learned a lot from Chapin. I'm not going to be quite as loud as he is on the floor or demonstrative, because he is a force to be reckoned with on the floor, which we greatly appreciate. Again, I'm Sally Turner. I live right down the road from here off of Route 10 as you head toward Mount Pulaski and Lincoln. I was the Logan County clerk for 6 terms, so I'm very familiar with this area. The issues at being a clerk are quite large. Everything from vital records to elections to tax extensions, taxing districts, recording, all those issues that affect the everyday person. I'm familiar with. So I think that was very helpful when I came into the Senate to be able to offer those ideas on issues. I will be covering now all of DeWitt, all of Piatt, all of rural Macon, all of rural McLean, continue to represent Logan, a little bit of Sangamon, a little bit of Livingston, a little bit of Woodford, and Tazewell counties.
Goodness gracious.
I know. So I go all the way from Morton south to Sangamon, Mechanicsburg, Buffalo area, and then east all the way to Piatt.
Like the way it's drawn up, it feels like a child drew it, like all the squiggly lines, and
it certainly does.
If you saw the original map, it was definitely in crayon.
No question. Sally, you talked about your experience in the clerk's office in Logan County and all the issues you had to deal with. That's probably one of the more understated parts of that role, is you have to know so much about what goes on in a lot of, areas of government that often fly under the radar. How about that?
Yeah. Your local government is extremely important, as we all know, especially regarding real estate taxes. So that's a huge huge thing to know your local elected officials. You just had your county clerk retire here, Dana Smith.
Sure.
She's a fantastic lady, and she's going to be helping me a little bit in the DeWitt and Piatt area, and I look forward to that.
Is she really great? Awesome. Well,
that's awesome. That's an excellent choice.
Yeah, she's a great asset. No question.
I think
question
she's
at all.
in Florida. She probably didn't hear that right then. So
if she's in Florida, she's doing even better than us. So that's great. Very good. Well, and so talk to me a little bit, Sally, as you come into, last year and a half for you, what have been issues that were top of mind for you as you took on the role of senator in what was formerly over in the Logan County area?
Yeah, well, sure. There's so many more issues, school funding, guns, of course, we'll talk about things like that, that weren't specific to what we dealt with in the county clerk's office. I mean, we still dealt with issues like they call us and said that someone would say, I have a diaper stuck in the toilet. Who do I call? That type of thing. We still have that type of phone call, but they're different phone calls now. Mostly it's people that are affected financially in some way. I need assistance with my electric bill, things of that nature. Those are big calls right now. My staff's getting a lot of those.
Yeah, sure.
But as for many differences, one of the big things that I noticed was, as county clerk, you're the person that organizes the meetings, has the agenda set forth. You know how that's going to flow each time you have a meeting, and that is not like that in the Senate. We don't know what we're going to find out on January 4th. We don't know what we're going to hear.
Right.
We usually don't find out about legislation until
you get there.
Yeah. Before.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not right. And I think the people, the voters, need to know what these issues are well ahead of us so that we can have good discussion, healthy discussion.
Probably a lot of folks want to know Republicans are in the super minority almost across the board in the state. So, how do you influence change? How do you make change when you just don't have the numbers to make your voice heard through a vote and those sorts of things?
Well, look, I'm going to say this. If you look at the last 2 years on the Safety Act, this is a great example. So I just mentioned, bills coming out of nowhere, literally came out of nowhere at 3:00 in the morning, 800 plus pages, and was voted on an hour later. It was a terrible bill. But through basically being that vocal minority and being out there and talking to people and talking to the media and getting the word out, we've forced them to, come back to the table 3 times now. The most recent time, negotiating with law enforcement and state's attorneys to make changes. Now, when I say that, the whole bill needs to go away. But we have, with not just, me and Sally and patting ourselves on the back here, but frankly, with you and more importantly, your listeners and the people of the state of Illinois who have gotten vocally upset about it, written letters to the editor, called into radio shows, called their legislators and said, hey, you're making us less safe. That has been able to impact some pretty significant changes from where that bill began. Now, I am very excited that there's over 60 states attorneys who are still in court suing to undo the entire thing. But let's make no mistake, particularly this most recent amendment that passed has made it better. Okay. But you can still have that kind of a difference. The other thing I'd point out, Seth, is that most bills, most roll calls aren't contentious. They're not Republicans versus Democrats. They're not Chicago versus downstate. They're just a good idea for the people of Illinois. And the process actually works pretty well 85% of the time. When you go through the committee process, I'm a believer that I may think I've got the greatest idea ever, but when I go to committee and Sally asks a question, oh, I didn't think about that. Or, one of the Democrats asks a question. Oh, I didn't think about that. So I found an amendment to address that question or that concern. It gets better at every step. And so by the time it gets voted on, it's really 85% of legislation, 85% of legislation is unanimous. And I know people probably think I'm crazy saying that, but unfortunately, headlines like legislators agree don't sell newspapers. So what's on your news and what's in your newspaper isn't the 80 to 85% of the time that at Springfield, just like Washington, D.C., we're all in agreement on something. What is on the front page or in your headlines is the 15, 25% of the time we're in disagreement. And I really think that's unfortunate for democracy, small d, just because it gives your listeners, the citizens, kind of a jaundiced view of what's really happening in Springfield or Washington.
But I mean, when you talk about the other 15% of legislation, it's so impactful, though.
Yeah.
You're talking about Safety Acts. You're talking about medical or recreational marijuana legalization a few years ago. You're talking about I'm trying to think of gambling and those sorts of things. Legalization of vices like that. They're so impactful. Go ahead. Sorry.
Let me just stop you though. You're correct. Those are impactful. But I'm going to give you a perfect example bill that just passed almost unanimously when we were there 2 weeks ago. A bill for changing the way Medicaid rates are determined for rural hospitals. Okay. You've got a hospital here in Clinton that would fit this bill. All right. I got plenty of them throughout my district. We're going to get more federal taxpayer money to pay to keep our rural hospital doors open because of this change that we made just 2 weeks ago. That's not on the front page of a paper. It's not on, you're not talking about this radio show if I wasn't bringing it up, but it is just as impactful because it goes to the safety of the citizens of Illinois, and particularly for those of us in downtown Illinois, it goes to if you're having a heart attack in the middle of the night, are you going to be able to go to a local hospital, or is your closest hospital an hour and a half drive?
Right. And eventually, I guess our hospital CEO will bring that up as well. But you're right. That would not have been on my radar had you not talked about it. Sally, for you, in terms of just issues that are coming up as you take over DeWitt, Piatt, rural Macon, rural McLean, all these areas, are you getting to know constituents? What are they telling you? How's that process going?
Sure. Yeah. As we have progressed going out into the different new communities, we're doing a lot of meet and greets and a lot of coffee and conversations to meet some of the individuals in the community, but also we're going to do traveling office hours. Or we'll go to a library or a park district, or we go to the David Davis Mansion on Friday. Just to meet folks that want to come in and talk about different issues. Most of it's impactful, things that impact local government, how does it impact me as an individual in local government. But one of the big things, and I think I mentioned to you personally a while ago, has to do with fentanyl and how fentanyl is affecting. If it hasn't affected you yet, it will. So one of your loved ones something's going to occur, and this fentanyl somehow is going to affect your family.
Yeah.
And that's a huge issue that tends to get overlooked. If you do the comparison, it's like a jetliner crashing every day. We'd probably report on that jetliner that crashed every day, but we're not reporting on those 200 plus deaths of individuals 18 to 40 dying every day.
You've got a bill to combat this, correct?
I do. That's correct.
Tell us about this.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's if an individual sells their drug product, which is usually an opioid, and it's laced with fentanyl, that would be a felony in order for them to do that. Now, that's part of one of the problems, I think, why it may not come out, because it's a sentencing enhancement. It's a crime, and I don't think that right now that the other side is engaging in wanting to make things another crime. Right now, you can sell fentanyl or you can sell an opioid, but there's no statute that says about fentanyl being lacing that product, and that's the bill that we're wanting.
Gotcha. Very good. So now, what is the status of that bill, and what's kind of its outlook going forward?
It's just filed.
It's filed.
Yeah.
Now, what happens next? Does
So it'll go
like a committee takes it up?
Yeah,
Is that what happens?
filed in the 103rd, which is our new, and then hopefully, it gets taken up in a committee.
Gotcha. Interesting. Well, it'll be interesting to see how bills like that fare with, you talk about the Safety Act, which really kind of softens its bite on criminals and really protects them more than it does victims. It'll be interesting to see like how that bill fares in a, environment where it's leaning towards protection of the criminal and less the victim. So,
let me give you an example of that. So this most recent amendment that got enacted. Okay. And again, far better with the amendment than without. Okay. But I still hope that the 60 states attorneys are successful in knocking this out completely in court. And here's why. Even with that amendment where they did go back and make several of the offenses that were going to be non-detainable, they're now going to be detainable. But burglary, for example, will no longer be detainable. And the Democrats' answer to that was, oh, that's not true. If you burgle a person, it's detainable. Well, that's called robbery.
That's robbery.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a totally different crime, So burglary, and I was just looking, many of your listeners will have eaten at OHOP, Original House of Pancakes in Champaign. Maybe they're on the way to a basketball game or a football game or something. Many people know OHOP. I was just watching the Channel 3 News, and OHOP got burgled.
Not IHOP?
No, it's OHOP. It's the Original House of Pancakes. Yeah.
Oh, I know where you're
going. So it's actually technically Original Pancake House.
It's
but
the one
anyway,
downtown.
It's the one in Springfield. Anyway, it's out on a Round Barn Center. But OHOP got burgled last night. Okay. And it was on the news this morning, and they got, or I guess maybe yesterday morning, and they got burgled. Well, when that person's caught, it will be a non-detainable offense, no matter what their prior history is and everything else, unless they can somehow prove that burglar poses an ongoing threat to, to personal safety. Well, considering he did it in the middle of the night, when no one was there, it's going to be hard for any prosecutor. And Sally's husband is a former prosecutor. Like I'm a former prosecutor. It'd be very hard to articulate a set of facts that you could prove that and go ahead and detain him. So, those are the things that are still out there with the Safety Act that need to be fixed.
No doubt. Well, friends, I look at the clock. Let's take a timeout here. I know there's some other things we want to get into this morning, so we'll do that on the other side of a break. Senator Sally Turner, Senator Chapin Rose joins us in studio this morning. More to come with them on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Thursday. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network. Corn starting the day steady, beans lower, Chicago wheat higher. March corn, $6.50 down 1/4. May corn beginning the day, $6.51 unchanged. July corn, $6.46 up 1/4. January beans opening $14.79 down 3 1/4. March beans down 3, $14.82. May beans $14.85 down 3 1/4. March Chicago wheat $7.53 1/4. That's up 4. May wheat $7.62.5 up 3 3/4. July wheat $7.66 3/4 up 2 3/4. March bean meal $4.58.80 up $2.60. And March bean oil, $61.71, down $1.13. A look at the opening numbers at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Thursday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Are you a friend of agriculture? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. we're giving a $500 Friends of Ag discount to anyone that orders a new Chevrolet or Buick to be built just for you this month. Are you a friend of Ag? You are if you're a member of any ag organization employed by any ag-related business, including research, inputs, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and of course, ag education. Come in, order yours today. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guests in studio, State Senator Sally Turner and Chapin Rose, as Sally takes over much of the district that Chapin Rose has represented for many, many years now. And I know you guys are very in tune, and a lot of people are really watching this assault weapons ban legislation that is going through. And Sally, a hearing this morning, correct, for folks to be a part of?
That's correct. And we encourage our listeners to get on the ILGA website, ILGA, which is the General Assembly website, and they can listen to that hearing at 10 o'clock. And they also can file what's called witness slips. So if you're opposed or you are proponent, either way, you can submit that witness slip. I just heard on my way here, I believe that it was 8,000 opponents and I think 2,000 proponents right now. So that's a way to make your voice heard when you can't participate specifically in a hearing. But
is it going to matter?
Well, I think it matters in that those are we have a voice, and that's a way that we can have a voice. And also I encourage those that are interested in speaking out about it to call their legislators and let them know their opinion about it.
Sure. So what is this bill all about? What's in it? What's concerning to you? How about those things?
Oh, to be quite honest, it starts out as one thing, but what will it end up being? That'll be an interesting mix of bag of who knows what. Right now, I don't know all the specifics myself, and I'm interested in listening to the subject matter hearing that'll be today in more depth.
But isn't that often how it happens? You know, a bill comes forward and then everybody gets their hands in on it, and it just completely changes by the end of the process.
I think Chapin's seen that many times of how that's changed over and over.
I do think this is kind of the bait and switch, right? Like, so the bill that they filed is, kind of it's going to be gun ban. It's going to be gun registration. It's going to make it hard to go hunting with your kid. All kinds of things like that. And then they'll come up with something else that's, equally as nefarious at the last minute and say, see, we listened, right? It's not that bill. It's this bill. And then of course it'll come out and you'll have an hour's notice and no one will know what's in it and they're going to vote on it. But look, the problem with this whole thing, Seth, is, and this is right now the difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. We want to put bad guys behind bars. Right. Our version of this is 10 in life. If you commit a weapon, any weapon, if you commit a violent offense with any weapon, murder, aggravated discharge of a firearm, you're shooting at a person, you're shooting into a crowd, you're acting like an idiot, right? 10 in life. First offense, 10 years minimum. Second offense, life. Okay, we're just going to be done with this. The Democrats would rather take the law-abiding citizens and make them criminals by outlawing your guns, making you register your gun. You forget the paperwork. Oh, it's $25 to register, but is that per a firearm, or is that, one time? Is it, can you list all your firearms for $25, or if you pay $25 for each firearm? Those are all the questions they don't have answers to. And then some poor guy who was trying to do the right thing ends up a felon, right?
Sure. So
that's really the difference in the fundamental difference in the parties right now.
Sure.
The Republicans want to take bad guys off the streets and keep them off the streets. And the Democrats seem to be okay with mollycoddling criminals.
A couple of things real fast here, friends. I know, Chapin, you want to talk about your friend Scott Bennett, who passed away recently, a member of the legislature. How about that?
Yeah, I'll just say that Scott Bennett, for many of you, he's from the Champaign-Urbana area and was just a great guy. He was on the other side of the aisle. But really, I think, as you see, he's nodding her head. was a really just good human being. And I used to see him at Y. We're picking our kids up from different things. I'd see him at Buffalo Wild Wings. We'd have our kids out watching football, let our wives have a break, just a good guy and a really thoughtful individual. And, it's just going to be a sad loss to the state of Illinois because he was truly one of the good guys to try to do the right thing. And very good sense of humor. I can't forget that. But Scotty was an all around good guy, and we're going to miss him a lot in Springfield.
Sure.
And I'll say this too, while I've got the mic, I just like to say thank you to, not just you, Seth, and Randy and Jared and the whole group here, but everybody listening. I can't believe that 10 years has gone by in a flash. But we've done a lot of good things for this area. We were able to help protect the water supply, spent years and many, many bills trying to protect the Muhammad Aquifer and was very successful at it, frankly, with the help of the citizens of this county. Many people came over to testify at hearings. We had Congressman Davis's help on the federal piece of that. And we, very proud of that as we exit, but the friendships here will last forever. I know that, we're literally right next door. I was just telling you on the break that my house is literally just a couple miles from the district line. So if folks need anything, holler. But I'll tell you what, folks, you're really going to like Sally Turner. She's going to do a great job for you. And I'd like to welcome her into this part of the country in her new district. Again, everything will be official mid-January. But, if you need anything in the meantime, holler. And you're really going to like Sally Turner in the future.
Don't be a stranger, Chapin. Come back on. And
Will
Sally, we're looking forward to talking with you going forward. So welcome and can't wait to speak.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks for having us.
Very much so, guys. Appreciate your
Merry
time.
Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas. Absolutely. That is State Senator Chapin Rose, State Senator Sally Turner in studio with us. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM.